What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Boom! Ghosts of Tomorrow by Michael R. Fletcher. Guys, look at this fucking cover. Woo! Bam! Thing is stunning, okay? I mean, I was going to pick this book up because it's a Fletcher book, but even if it wasn't, I probably would have picked it up because of this stunning-ass cover. Man. But I'll tell you, I think the cover kind of confused me a little bit. I thought that I was getting into like a cyberpunk western. Cyberpunk, yes. Sci-fi, yes. Badass, yes. Western, no. Let's get into it. Ghosts of Tomorrow is set in the not-so-distant future, about 20-something years from now. And I think you'll be surprised that you find some things very familiar and some things very different. At this point in time, we are seeing that people are having their brains or their consciousness scanned and put into artificial intelligence or kind of put into this digital universe. This is kind of a creepy concept, but we see that people are more than willing to sign up for this kind of service because they're petrified of dying. This is a way for people to become immortal in some ways. Though we do see that these people that have been scanned have really just been kind of put into service, right? Like they are now like the people driving trucks or doing like menial tasks or even more important stuff as well. We see that some of these children have been scanned and put into what's known as battle chassis. And I think it's because of their age that they're easily being able to be manipulated. So this is a dark kind of thing, right? We're watching the minds of children being placed into machines and then turned into killers. Yeah. The story is told through multiple perspectives, and it's a lot of fun watching them slowly kind of weave in with one another. One of the perspectives we're going to catch is from an agent who's been assigned to investigate these creches, which are basically these nurseries that, you know, on the black market where they're scanning these children or infants and babies, and, you know, they're being destroyed and killed at the end of this, so it's really fucked up. So this guy is basically investigating these warehouses full of dead babies. Not fucking cool at all. Another perspective we're going to get is of Mark Lochner, who is this guy who runs this company called Msoft, and this is kind of an interesting deal because this perspective really opens up that whole digital universe thing, and we start playing with stuff. We start playing God in some aspects. We will also follow the perspective of an autistic girl who has been scanned and put into a machine, and she is now known as 88. And now 88 is running the finances for a cartel, but we will also see that 88 begins to want something more for herself. And this is kind of that interesting thing, right, where we're watching machines act like humans. We will also follow the perspectives of some of these kids who have been scanned and put into these battle chassis. One of them, Arcady, who is the guy on the cover, is a lot of fucking fun to follow considering he is just one beautiful death machine. One of the things that really drew me into this book was its overall tone and vibe, man. It feels like Cyberpunk meets Shadowrun. And while I was reading it, you know, I started thinking of Ghost in the Shell and stuff like that. It just gave me the best kind of vibes for this style of book. It's a cyberpunk story. Trust me, you're going to get that feel, and it feels good. It's also it's a Fletcher book, so it's dark as shit. I have to admit, though, by throwing in some of these characters where they are young. Maybe they're not alive anymore, but their minds are of children or of teenagers. And I do think that Fletcher pulls this off really fucking well. The 14-year-old sounds like a 14-year-old. The 17-year-old sounds like a 17-year-old. This does kind of bring a sort of a bit of levity. Not so much in the humor, but a little bit in the humor, but just in the overall, I don't know, juvenile kind of feel to it. I don't want to say it's YA because this is probably one of the darkest Fletcher books ever, but it does have this little juxtaposition by having these children as a lot of your players, your violent players. it's just a cool little mixed mesh of shit, man. I really dug it. An area of this story that really excels is its action. This thing is action-packed. It's also kind of cerebral at times, but when it's not being cerebral, you got fucking bullets and rockets and goddamn everything else flying at your head, or maybe ninja swords. It's fucking action-packed, guys. I really don't think that anyone's going to get bored while reading this. Especially, I think that if you're like me and you've been reading a lot of fantasy, like I said earlier, it's kind of fun to jump back into something like this because you're trading out your swords and arrows for fucking machine guns and fucking bazookas and stuff, and it's cool, man. You feel the firepower. It's like, oh shit. Hell yeah, we're blowing stuff up now, aren't we? All right. The other thing I want to talk about is, I guess, the world building. Even though this thing takes place in our world, I really do like the little touches and stuff that Fletcher has put here in the, not so distant future, though it does scare the shit out of me if this is what we got to look forward to in 20 years. Holy shit. But other than that, the real aspects of world building go into the digital universe. And I think this is really neat. And this, once again, opens up that whole deal, which makes this not just a cyberpunk book, but also a sci-fi book that kind of goes back to the old days of sci-fi when we used to tell tales of, playing God and the repercussions of that. And I think the whole digital universe thing that Fletcher's designed here and kind of, plays with really is like a call back to the old times. Now, as far as the things that I found maybe not so great about the book, my number one issue, which really wasn't that big of an issue, is just some of the names that eventually start getting doled out, okay? And what I'll try to explain this is, when you start scanning people and some of these scans start to scan themselves, so now you'll have like, 1.0, 2.0, 2.13, 0.0. Some of these names get a little out of control. You know what I mean? You start dealing with 88.36957 through 8675309. It's just a little bit of a mouthful. Once again, not really that big of a deal. I'm just trying to kind of pick things, I'm trying to pick things apart and be objective. I do think that this was my major issue with the book, was just those long goddamn number crunching names. And every once in a while as well, I will mention that these kids just being kids was kind of cringy. But I really realized is like, that's a fucking 14-year-old, man. That's how they talk. That's what they think is cool. It's really done well. So I think that's a little subjective. I think maybe, the older crowd might find some of the stuff that falls out of these kids' mouth a little cringy. But at the same time, I think you'll begin to understand that that's exactly what they would act like. Now, as far as my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling, yes, absolutely, Ghosts of Tomorrow is for you. This is a fun ride, and it's packed filled with all kinds of stuff. It also is probably one of the easier and more accessible cyberpunk stories. This genre can get a little convoluted, a little confusing, or just a little too goddamn much. And I think that Fletcher has designed something that is much easier for you to digest and really get a cool feel for this world. You're not going to get as confused or kind of like scratch your head like if you were reading something like Neuromancer, okay? So this is a perfect book for you guys to pick up, enjoy, start, finish, feel accomplished, and get on with your lives, all right? Hell yeah. All right, guys, as always, thanks for spending some time down here at the channel. And to Michael R. Fletcher, 2 thumbs up, you madman. Man, I'm, just keep writing, bro, because I'm going to keep reading. That's the relationship we got, okay? For the rest of you, go ahead and feel free to do whatever the hell you like with those thumbs up, thumbs downs thingies down there. Just fucking have at it, all right? Fucking do what you may. You know what time it is. Brrr.